So President Trump signed an executive order last Saturday imposing tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China.
Mexico and Canada get a 25% tariff on imports starting today, February 4th. This excludes energy resources from Canada, which are subject to a lower 10% tariff.
China gets a 10% tariff on imports starting today as well.
So many people in Tesla Nation have been asking, how will this affect Tesla?
We won't know the exact impacts these tariffs will have on Tesla until we get to see some numbers from Q1 earnings.
And even more importantly, probably the Q2 earnings, because Q1 has only 1 month where the tariffs were in effect, and it'll probably take until the end of this quarter to work through existing parts and supply inventories.
But there are some things that we do know.
Tesla's competitors will be affected more by the tariffs than Tesla will for 2 reasons.
Number one, Tesla is more vertically integrated than their competition. While companies like Volkswagen source over 43% of their US-made vehicle parts from Mexico, Tesla makes more of their own vehicle parts themselves here in the United States.
Especially the expensive parts like frames, body panels, motors, battery packs, and seats. That means that the effect of tariffs on Tesla will be less than their competitors.
It costs Tesla about $30,000 in input costs to build a Model Y.
There are, for instance, some printed circuit boards, PCBs, for various components in a Tesla that are sourced from Mexico. So if Tesla doesn't resource them from the US, they will cost 25% more. But these are fairly low-cost items. Compare this to Ford, where the gas engines for the Ford F-150 and the Mustang, for example, are made in Canada. 25% of an engine is a pricey extra expense for Ford. Or take GM. Their engines and transmissions often cross borders multiple times during production, and each of those border crossings will get hit with the 25% tariff.
Seriously? Multiple border crossings for one part?
Yeah, this is a big deal that nobody thinks much about because up until these new tariffs, there was no tariffs. So the only expense was the shipping back and forth. And Ford and GM and Toyota and Hyundai, actually all of Tesla's competition, took advantage of cheaper labor in Mexico and Canada to build parts and sub-assemblies there. These auto companies can't pivot quickly to become vertically integrated. They have multi-year contracts and factories that have tooled up especially for certain parts and sub-assemblies. Their whole culture is based on shaving off pennies by sourcing things outside of the US. And now that's going to hurt them tremendously. Nearly every one of the top 6 big auto companies, except Tesla, has at least one plant in Mexico.
And this leads to reason number 2, profit margins. These tariffs are going to cost Ford, GM, Volkswagen, Hyundai, Honda, and Toyota many more thousands of dollars per vehicles than Tesla. A quick back-of-the-napkin estimate is that these guys will be paying an extra $3,000 per vehicle because of these new tariffs.
Ford had an average pre-tax profit per ICE vehicle, so not electric, ICE, of $3,715 in Q1 of 2023. And because Ford is losing so much money per EV that they build, we're talking more than $60,000 per vehicle in 2023. Their overall margins were just 1.9% as of September of 2024.
Just 1.9%?
Yep. And so what happens when you take away an additional $3,000 per vehicle due to these tariffs?
Ford won't be making any money on any of the vehicles that they make. They're going to have to raise prices.
And the hurt is already happening. GM just announced last Saturday that they're dropping a production shift at their assembly plant in Mexico that builds crossovers for Chevy, Cadillac, and Honda. Ending this third shift will result in the elimination of 800 jobs there.
Tesla, on the other hand, has 2 advantages here. Number 1, the cost these tariffs will have on Tesla will probably be more like $1,000 per vehicle. And because Tesla has an incredibly fast and nimble logistics system, they can more quickly source parts from within the United States. Tesla has tons of experience with building parts and sub-assemblies themselves.
For instance, in 2015, Elon decided to stop buying pre-assembled seats from outside suppliers for the Model S and X, and instead start making them in-house at the Fremont factory. Many industry insiders were skeptical that this would work out well for Tesla, since seats are highly labor-intensive parts that you typically buy from countries where labor is really cheap, like Mexico. But Tesla redesigned the seats from the ground up, and although it took longer than Elon wanted, by 2019, Tesla had the most automated seat production in the industry. Tesla has since replicated this in all their gigafactories.
So if we assume a price of, say, $600 per seat, because some are heated and powered and some aren't, that means that when GM, Ford, Volkswagen, etc. buy their seats now, they're going to have to pay an extra $750 in tariffs for a 5-seater, and Tesla isn't.
That's just the seats.
Exactly. And the second advantage that Tesla has is that they are already making about 20% margins on their cars. Here you can see in this chart from MainStreetData.com that Tesla is making $9,230 per vehicle in profit.
In this next chart from Main Street Data, you can see that Tesla's auto gross margin, which is dark blue here, is 16.6%.
That's way better than Ford's 1.9.
Exactly. So even if Tesla takes a $1,000 hit per vehicle due to these tariffs, Tesla has more options. They can pass some of that on to customers, take a hit on margins, and as FSD gets better, more and more customers will be paying for that software that has almost 100% profit margins. Now, Canada just responded to the US with a 25% tariff on US goods, including Teslas, as the legacy media likes to shout in their headlines.
All US-made car prices will go up in Canada by 25%, though.
Right. And US customers will be paying more for cars that have parts or subassemblies made in Canada, but that will cost less than Canadians who will get a full 25% tariff on US-made cars. Sorry, Canadians. But whether or not you're a fan of these tariffs, Tesla should be able to handle the effects better than their peers.
Now, we compare Tesla to their big auto peers like Ford, GM, and Toyota, but how about Rivian and Lucid?
That's a good question. We'll discuss that on Investor Club bonus stories today, so make sure to join us on Patreon, support the independent journalism we provide every week, and get to watch our weekly bonus stories just for our patrons. So we'll see you there. Hey everybody, thanks so much for watching Now You Know Clips.
You can watch full episodes of Tesla Time News on Tuesdays and in-depths on Fridays. Just click the link down below and head over to the Now You Know channel.